Hello. I'm going to be doing VOD review for Team 1's second game. And before we get into that, I just want to comment on a few things on the replay itself. So, first of all, we have this, which is the time without any action happening, which looks very like a lot. It's only 4 minutes, but that is a slow-paced game, but that's not a bad thing. See, we typically have in between each bit of action, we have these bubbles of okay, nothing really happens, and they keep themselves in a pattern of every about a minute or so, which just so happens to coincide with a lot of our key ultimates. For example, Xayah ult is 140 seconds. That's just about 2 minutes. Ekko ult is about 1, so that's just over a minute. Nautilus R, just over a minute. And of course, 2 minutes on the Jarvin R, which leaves us in a pretty good spot overall, as it means we're playing around our cooldowns well. It means we're always typically on the upper foot when we're in a fight, due to just having our ultimates laid out like that, and means we end up in a better position when we do take fights, because we're prepared for them, which we can't always say if we're like, oh, well, there's action happening here, here, and here, which means we were fighting disconjointed here, here, and here, and we don't have ultimates here, here, and here, which is why we died. So just for the beginning, I want to point out this with the Jarvin. He tries to recall, which is fine, but he sees Draven coming at him, which should have been the immediate instinct to say, I need to go, and that flash wouldn't have been wasted. Which means that J4 doesn't start out with a flash, which isn't ideal. It really could end in, like, some serious consequences later on, which we don't want. Next, I want to point out this. So, J4 recalls because he has to, and then he takes a few steps back into the fountain, and then he walks back out, which leads to a slowed down leash time, because neither Jarvin or Ornn get to the buff in time. You get about 5 to 10 seconds late, and those 5 to 10 seconds, if we look up here, is enough time for half of a minion wave, which is half of the XP needed to reach level 2, which is that's ginormous. It's almost 2 waves. It actually might be 1.5 waves. Nope, it looks like Ornn gets there in time for the second half, but that's still just such a ginormous amount of gold and XP you're missing out on. Down bot, we showed ourselves early, but that's kind of because we assumed that they knew we were starting that side. We kind of knew where volley was starting, not perfectly. We get a good hook into good focus trading. Amumu goes in. We go to him instead because Jarvin's too far to hit. Mid lane is just going like a typical mid lane. Swing trades with no one's winning for more than maybe 20 seconds, which makes it hard to follow and hard to say, oh, this was bad, this could have been done better. Overall, nothing was done so wrong that it really matters during this laning phase. Like, obviously, Ekko takes more damage than desired, but Ekko has the TP, which means he'll be fine. Up here in the top lane, we have Ornn taking really good trades with the Mordekaiser, poking with Q, and generally not taking damage from the enemy wave. Hit the bone plating proc, but that doesn't matter because it's bone plating and you take basically no damage when it's hit. Avoiding the Qs really well. doing all sorts of good things up here. Down in the bottom lane, Jarvin gets to scuttle a little late, it looks like. Or down in the bottom river, I should say. It appears that Jarvin gets to... Yeah, Jarvin gets to scuttle a bit late. About, I think, 20 seconds late, which could be the difference between getting and not getting scuttle. So, while it's nice that Jarvin's able to get to level 4 before he gets there, if the clear speed isn't fast enough for it, then it's not viable to do that. And, oh no, you don't even get level 3 off that. Or level 4, you get level 4 off the scuttle. So it probably makes more sense to just go for a 4 or even 3 camp clear, and then go back in and get that, so say you go for a 4 camp clear, you get the scuttle on time, and then you go for that 5th camp after, you're on the scuttle on time, you're gonna be at the same place XP and gold-wise, and you won't have to worry about giving up the crucial early objectives. Bot lane trading well. Jarvin not doing much here, looking for what to do, which isn't bad. It's decision making, but if it can be improved, it definitely should. Sweepers here, I'm not sure why. It would have been too long for any wards placed to get through. It wouldn't have made much sense. Here we see Volibear. There's no wards up on the top side. Mordekaiser is relatively low. And here we see it happen. We see the Ornn... we see the Ornn E miss, oddly. But we see the Ornn Q, W, and just smacking the Ornn. If that final E had hit, Ornn probably would have made it out without needing to flash. It sucks that it didn't. It definitely can be worked on to hit it more consistently. But overall, that ends really well with the Ekko recall into TP. Because Ekko's just going to use that to get back to the mid lane anyways. Bot side, really, really beautiful really beautiful Q into just everything else. So Amumu shows up, we switch focus immediately because he's the closest, we don't have to take as many tower shots, and that all ends well. One thing I would like to point out on the bot side, since we are here currently, is pay attention to Nautilus's... Is it this? I don't think it's right here. Hold on. We'll get back to that when I notice it come up. Other than that, everything goes pretty slow, like I mentioned, for the next few minutes. We're playing around cooldowns, we're playing to our strengths, playing when we're behind, just all around playing very well, very safe, and very consistent. J4 goes in, gets the Yone flash, absolutely beautiful. He then walks up into river, and we just saw Valio top. So if we look at what goes on here, J4 engages, which is perfectly fine. And then if we pause it here, both of these top laners aren't moving. So right now, Jarvin and Volibear are both right there. Mord, if he goes this way, gets a very clear-cut path. Ornn, if he goes this way, gets a very clear-cut path. If either one of them rotates down, the other one probably will too. Which isn't as big of an issue as it sounds. Because, again, the Ornn is level 6, Mord's oh, they're both level 6. But Ornn is ahead in items. Ornn has 1,400 gold worth of items on him, while the Mord has a starting item. And right here, it doesn't look like the fight is going poorly. It looks like they're both at the same health. But if we quickly resume the replay, you can see that J4 starts to take a beating, which isn't ideal. It's played very well by the J4. The flash into outplay, very good. Ornn starts rotating as soon as Mord does, pretty good. If we had rotated sooner, we likely wouldn't have had to burn the J4 flash, which would have been ideal. That ends really, really well in our favor, with them avoiding the Mord Q isolation by sticking on top of each other, avoiding the E's by using your dashes. It just ends very, very well in our favor. Then at 7 minutes and 30, we have a Fiesta bot side. So what ends up happening is the Nautilus runs just right at them, which is what you basically want Nautilus to do. The Q misses, continues running up at them, which is fine. But it ends up wasting a flash from the Naut when he walks into the Yone. They end up wasting heal. I think we end up... no, we don't end up healing. But we do end up wasting the Xayah ult, which could have been crucial at some point. But then we have this rotate, which, even though the Naut Q misses, they continue to press forward. The Nautilus R lands, hits him, gets a double stun into a very, very nice rotate play, which ends in both Yone and Volibear dead. Very good in our favor. Dragon is up at 8 minutes. We're not in a position to take it, but we also don't have vision on it, which is a problem. Jarvin, while having a sweeper trinket, still can buy control wards. And placing a control ward on the drag pit is never a bad thing. Even placing a control ward in this bush, or even in the enemy jungle, it'll just end better with the more information we have. Let's see what happens next. Yes, back to the bot lane. So I think we're cool to look around. So mid has a control ward. One bot laner bought a control ward. The support has no control wards, which is very much not ideal. Volley is taking Scuttle, so they'll have the vision on the dragon. We do end up... This dragon isn't fast. It's been up for 5 minutes now. But Nautilus ends up... So the real issue here is Nautilus ends up chasing too hard, which leads to the Nautilus dying, and almost my death as well, which, if not hadn't run in the direction he had, I probably would have been chased to death as well. So that ends best of a bad situation, I would say, with only one of us dead. And then here is the playing around cooldowns I mentioned, playing around the E, playing away from the Umumu, just ends very well. Up here, that's a good invade. Jarvin is so far ahead at that point and knows he can already kill Volley in a fight. So with Volley being 1 and 3, that ends really well. I will say I don't like that both laners were there when it happened. It leaves us very vulnerable if one of them walks up to Jarvin dying, but because Jarvin didn't even take any damage, I can't complain. Right there, it would have been a good opportunity for a Rift Herald. Level 8 Jarvin, easily able to take it. Continues to invade Volley's jungle, which isn't bad. It's a very good play, actually. Walks away at the right time, doesn't get killed. Interesting. It looks like Jarvin is positioning up. So there Yone dies. Saw Yone was low. Positions for another invade, knowing he is still ahead in... Or no, he's not ahead in items. But he is still pushing that advantage against the Volibear with the level advantage, which just ends very well. Continues the invade. After these, I would say just go straight into the Rift Herald, because at this point, even if Volley does show up, I'm not sure there's much. No, he'll definitely be able to kill Jarvin, but there's no reason he would show up again. I would have gone straight into the Rift Herald. Ornn trading really well with the Mordekaiser. Gets hit by ISO damage, which isn't ideal, but it's still just well trading. Volley is really getting these Scuttle Crabs though, which means they're just sitting on free vision. And of course, we're getting CC chained by the Mummy, but we get that off. We get a good series of trades off. We don't die, which is the main thing. Until we become complacent. So currently we're fine. Volibear leaves, we're good to do what we want. Ekko sees Volley coming mid, isn't too worried, because it's Ekko, why would he be? He plays like it, and that's fine. Volley's behind, Yone's behind, he would have likely made it out just fine. Here, we're really aggressive and getting these turret platings. We see Draven, and back out, or not backs out. We're still just, I'm being hyper aggressive here with these plates. I want to get this bot turret down. I want to get a 14-minute turret, and I just want to be out of the bot lane. Which, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be out of the bot lane. That's really what we want to do, is just get out as soon as possible. 13-minute dragon, I'm not going to complain about that. Obviously, it could have been taken earlier and would have been able to snowball a lead, but a 13-minute dragon is nothing to scoff at. Here, Not goes in on half HP, doesn't get the auto off, makes it out pretty well. I make it out pretty well once we spot out the Volley. But here's where the issue comes in that Not becomes complacent and not worried and gets killed by Draven. Really what should have happened is Not should have just walked all the way to the second turret. Even then, the ult's global, so it might not have saved him, but it would have given him an easier chance to see it on the map and try and avoid it. Here, Volley's sitting there. I'm sitting there. I probably shouldn't be sitting there, in all reality. But if you notice, I notice Volley looking for the tower dive. I try and ward up there to make sure he's not coming that way. Otherwise, I know exactly where he is at all times. I know I can walk up here because my Ekko has teleport and has communicated with me that they will be teleporting in. Comes down in, just slaughters the Amumu, gets the Draven to 1 HP, which will never not be tilting, but it leaves them in a vulnerable position, and means we have bot control of the map. Or, we can do what we did again, and we can rotate up here, which we do. Realistically speaking, I don't like that we didn't go for the bot turret, but I get where it goes. Good Nautilus R into root, into depth, and that's beautiful. It puts Yone so much farther behind. Yone hasn't picked up anything so far. Up here, we have the Jarvin pushing with the Ornn, which I don't quite understand. I assume it's for what's about to happen next, but I don't have the comms, so I'm not entirely sure. But we go in, good engage, good rotate, call the Forge God is late, which does become an issue, and Jarvin tanks the tower for a bit too long, which was rather silly, but it doesn't end poorly. Here's another almost complacent death, where we guard low, and we walk into a predictable area against a Draven with a global ultimate, which can end very poorly. Here we have a really good hook by the Nautilus, and it just kills them. We see the Volibear, we spot him out on a ward. So instead of running into his jungle, where he can run up or down at us, or Draven or Yone can pincer us, staying there and waiting for him to show up and see what he does, because we're so far ahead, we know that he's going to have to run or he'll die. It leaves us in a safer position than running up into the Yone. J4 comes down, gets some really, really good damage now. We focus the Yone over here, we realize he's going back, we do it over here, and he dies, and it's beautiful. We see the Volibear making the same mistake Nautilus did, which is being complacent in his recalls. Realistically, Volley should have just walked into his base walls or further and played it safe, but he didn't, and it gets us a kill. Jarvin invading jungle, absolutely perfect. Volley's dead, there's no one who can contest him. The gold is just, it's just good. Here, I want to comment on this, which is, please work, thank you. Here I want to comment on this. So we have Jarvin heading towards this, if memory serves from the first time I watched it. We have Ekko pushing down the bot lane. We have Ornn pushing down the top lane. And we have me and Nautilus pushing down the mid lane, which gives us a 1, or it gives us a 1-2-1 split with our jungle on objectives, which in reality is absolutely perfect. It leads us in this position where we are so able to control the map that they can't really do much. Notice how Draven is up there trying to stop the Ornn, but well, Draven can't really damage the Ornn all that well, and even if he could, Ornn could probably get out or get to his jungler in time. Over here they're sending 2 for us, which doesn't end well. Over there they sent 2 for Ekko because Ekko is fed, which realistically they probably should have sent 3 mid, but that's besides the point. And what ends up happening is they end up dying for it. They can't contest it because they sent 1-2-1-1, and this one gets poked half to death, and one of them dies. Both of them die here, and only one of us dies there, which it was close enough to where I don't really have any complaints. If I watch the fight back, there's probably something that went wrong, but I'm not really gonna hammer that home. We just got the Rift Herald at 19 minutes, which I would complain is late if we weren't shoving down their towers already. So currently we're pushing an inhib, and Jarvin shows up to do a 1-3-1. Obviously we're missing the Ornn in that component, but it ends up well for us. 1-3-1 splits when you're this far ahead aren't really... They can do things because it's 5v3, but as long as we play it properly, we shouldn't end up with anything worse than a 4-for-2, which 4-for-2, just great. Not starts his recall really late there, which leads to him being caught out before anyone else. Fortunately, he doesn't die, but it doesn't end well for us. Our dragon here, even though we got the 13-minute one, this is 7 minutes removed from that, which gives them a chance to do it. They walk right on a control ward. They don't clear it until after they realize, which ends very poorly for them, because now we know they're on it. And because we know they're on it, we can send everyone over here. And we can keep our Ornn splitting because Ornn needs the levels. And with everyone coming here, they can't do anything. They end up dying trying to fight. It just kills them. There's not much they could do. We get the dragon, and then we can just go back to pushing mid. And that was the final play of the game. What ends up happening now As we watch the replay, we can see this going on. We can see us taking the inhib. Sorry for my scribble. But we can see us taking the inhib in a very, very front-to-back fashion, with both of our tanks there, our assassin over on the side, all that good jazz. We engage really well with our tanks sitting in the front and our ADC in the back. I wanna back this up, and I wanna point out how that engage looks if I freeze it. So if we go back, say 20 seconds or 30 seconds. So we're taking the inhib in a very front-to-back style with our assassins over here and our tanks over in the front of our ADC. Here we have an engage. We have a tank here. We have our tank here. Or, well, I suppose bruiser, but more of a tank in this situation. We have our assassin over on the side. Very, very front-to-back style. Perfect for this. We still have that front-to-back style here. We have two tanks being focused. Our ADC is removed from the fight enough to hit them in range. And our assassin is engaging on the, I assume, a Mumu for being picked out. Heads in, just picks off some of the low people. We still have this very front-to-back situation where our assassin is in the middle of them. Now he's in the middle. He's doing great. For what he's supposed to do, which is blow them up. And we have our tanks in front and we have our ADC behind them, which ends just phenomenal. We then just summon the Rift Herald and end the game. And that's just, there's nothing that can be done by the enemy team in that situation. So a few notes on the game. Our dragons were still slightly late, but were better timed. We got Rift Heralds this time without them not being our call. They were on our accord. We were invading the enemy jungle, which is great. We had a slow tempo. As I pointed out, we have these big stretches of, hey, nothing's happening here, nothing's happening here, with just not a lot of kills and maybe some structures taken. But that's good. It means our tempo is being played to our comp's advantages. Because we just have a very wombo combo, hit him where it hurts. We're doing really, really well in the team play aspect. And I can't stress this enough. A lot of those teleports and a lot of the roams with the Jarvin and Ekko showing up were very, very good. But we still, the one thing we didn't do better this game, or really change at all, is control wards. Mid and AD carry bought them. I think top might have bought one, but jungle and support still didn't. Which isn't really acceptable at the end of the day. Because what that leads to is it just leads to a lack of vision. And I realize that my scribbles aren't seeable on the screen, but I promise you they were there. So at the end of the day, what it comes down... Oh, that's not good. Okay, my cursor wasn't there at all. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is we were just playing at a more cooperative and thought out tempo, to where we're not trying to solo carry the game. We're trying to see what can our win con do. So in this game, either Ekko or Xayah is the win con. So what we're doing is we're playing around the Xayah and Ekko. Xayah is self-sufficient, so we play around the Ekko with our jungle attention. We play around the top side because Ornn is just smashing the Mordekaiser and Volibear's not paying attention to it. We pay attention to our dragons, and we get things done quickly and effectively, which is what allowed us to get a 22-minute game. That is all for now. I will have likely another VOD review when the next games are done. Hopefully, I will be able to get Team 2 replays. If I can't, I will try and set something else up. But that's all for now, and I hope you enjoyed.